Hey everyone, it's Frankie, and before we get started, I just want to send out some well wishes to our brother Joe Christie, who has been fighting this long and difficult battle with cancer. And, we're all looking forward to seeing Joe at the Legends Fan Fest in June 4th. So I just want to say, Joe, we're with you and we support you, man, and kick cancer's ass. Welcome to Broken Kayfabe, the unofficial after show of Breaking Kayfabe with Baldrin and Barry. And this is the most altruistic podcast on the internet. And
is it?
It's true. It's true. It is. I could give you a million reasons why. But before I do, let me just apologize to Ariel because we had some technical issues, and I really feel like he wants to slap me like Will Smith did Chris Rock.
No, I don't. Actually, no, I don't. Actually, I have these technical issues myself, so I don't blame you for anything. But we know it's settings.
We know that it's the Skype settings. I just got to change a couple things, and then we'll be good to go. But Ariel, thank you so much. You are the best co-host, and I get at least one compliment a week where everyone says that you are so great.
Oh wow, one compliment.
Week.
That makes me a week. That makes me feel good because we only record once a week or twice a week if we can, but. It makes me feel good that you are getting those and I am not. So you're getting those about me, but I am not getting those about myself. So
hey,
no one's telling me these things.
In this masculine world, it's really hard sometimes to give other guys compliments. So it's much better, for people just to tell me and then I tell you, that way they don't, you don't have to have that weird bromance thing where you're like, oh, thanks, bro. I really like the post you post in the group too.
That's, you know what? I don't really mind. Just if I'm doing a good job, let me know. If I'm not, let me know also so I could improve. I'm always trying to improve every week. This is still kind of a weird thing for me to talk into a microphone and try not to, stutter or do all these weird quirks that I have when I'm speaking to other people or speaking publicly.
Hey, don't sweat it, man. I edit a bunch of stuff out. Sometimes we have a 10-minute conversation. And I go, gosh, I really sounded stupid during that whole thing. So I'll just cut it out. So don't you sweat. Don't you worry about whatever that you got going on. I sound like a moron. I said each and every week. But, let me say the reason that we do this podcast is because I think the brothership is so freaking cool. And I think that everyone should be able to have more of a voice in the group, and I mean an actual voice. And the other reason is this too. I think it's important that generations down the line will be able to listen to the brothershipers' voices and hear them talk about stuff that they're passionate about, whether it's Bruce Springsteen, whether it's food, whether it is wrestling, or whether it is just having some brotherly love here in the group. So that's why we started the podcast. And that is why I say it's the most altruistic. Hey, you know what? I know that I suck. I know that I don't sound great on the microphone. And actually, I don't give two craps because it's not about me. It's about the brothership. So if you can get through my ums and ahs and me just sounding like a dumbass, then that's great. Just and if you can't, just skip forward to you hear someone else talking, and it won't be long for that till that happens. And that's the reason I do it for the Matt Crowders and Matt Crowder's kids and wife and the people that are going to find his podcast of him talking about stuff, and the Chris Zaw, the Travis Rains, the Mark Herwigs, their families, and their people in the future who will have this information saved online forever, that will be able to hear their ancestors talk about something as important as professional wrestling.
Look at you all fired up. I love it.
Yeah, well,
I love it.
It's Wednesday here in Florida. It's Wednesday also in California.
Yep.
And what better day than to be fired up than hump day?
Oh, Wow, we went there. Okay. Yes, I wasn't expecting that, but yes, fired up for Hump Day, of course. Wow. It's
You know
gonna be
who
this
else is
kind of.
fired up?
Ooh.
Ric Flair and Mark Madden.
Oh my goodness. Yes,
Will
they are.
Smith and Chris Rock. You know, they're going to do a tag team, and they're going to put it on WCW Nitro.
Oh my goodness. It's been a crazy week for feuding, fussing and feuding, but it is what it is. So
that's true.
How you been?
Man, I have been great. And before we get on to too much, let me just say that June 4th at the Residence Inn or up in Lutz, Florida, there is the Fan Fest. You can go search it out on Eventbrite. You can search out CWF Legends Fan Fest on Facebook and get all the information. But if you are a brother shipper, and I'm guessing if you're listening to this podcast, you have to make it. I want them to sell out the tickets. And they've got Medusa, they've got Mad Maxine, they've got Demolition Axe and Smash, they've also got the Repo Man, they've also got Bob Roop, they've also got Maha Singh, I think was his other name. You know, everybody that's coming. They got Steve Kern. You know, he was the guy who wore like the bow tie and the suspenders, but then also he was the gator hunting Skinner up in the WWF. So they've got all these people with their double gimmicks that are going to be there. I think it's super exciting, and this place should be sold out. And, you know, they have limited number of tickets. So even if it is sold out, you're not going to have to wait long, and you can stand around and have your conversations, which I understand does not happen at other fan conventions. That it's, hey, get your picture, thanks, have a good day. Not with this one. You can stand there and have Ricky Morton besmirch you and not recall you and just remind you that your cousin's dead, like he did me. Or you can have a good conversation with Jerry Briscoe, who was a heck of a nice guy, Jerry Jarrett, wonderful, very nice, and spoke with my wife. Lynn Denton, the Cuban assassin, who is much taller than I thought he was, who actually just lives a couple of miles on the same stretch of road here from me and Jana. So you can have all these great conversations. And the most important conversations, let me say, are the ones with the brother shippers. And absolutely. I'm hoping this year to have a lot more conversations and record some video. I'll record some audio and hang out with everyone, eat a bunch of good food. Ariel, someone mentioned to me yesterday, they said, we have got to get Ariel to one of these conventions. And I said, you are 100% correct. And now you say check.
Check.
There we go.
I don't want to steal anybody's gimmick.
Hey, we're not stealing. We're borrowing it. This is a tribute show to Jeff the Booker Baldwin and Barry Loverboy Rose. And we can steal it, borrow it. We're giving it back. You guys, you can have it next Tuesday.
Oh, you are on a roll today. I love it. I mean, I have a question about the multiple gimmicks that the legends are gonna be portraying. Do they get paid twice or do they get paid for each gimmick?
Knowing Dave Penzer, they do not get paid twice.
Ah, come on, Dave.
but yeah, it is exciting. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you are on a roll. Wow. What did you have, like a Red Bull in your cereal today or something? Because this is the most fired up I've heard you be on this podcast since we started.
Well, no, I did not. I got some bad news yesterday about my heart. And so I got up this morning and I worked out really, really hard. So I've got blood pumping through my veins. I'm excited to be here and be recording. I'm excited to have you on the line because you were busy yesterday with the family stuff. This morning, you were still helping Mama out.
Yeah, I have to, or else she'll kick me out of the house that I co-own with her and whatnot. It's one of those things. I mean, yeah, sure, I still live at home, but I don't have $1 million to buy a house here, so.
Man, freaking California is ridiculously expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna end anytime soon. Yeah. Ugh, makes me sad right now. But yeah, I did have to help mom out, and I will continue if I still want to live here. So,
and how is the lovely sainted Mrs. Agbalog?
she is fine. She just ran some errands earlier, and she's waiting for retirement hopefully next year. And she just can't wait to go to North Carolina to be with her granddaughter. She only has one grandchild, so.
Dude, I knew you were going to say that. I knew it. When you mentioned the word retirement, I was like, she wants to spend time with the grandkids.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, my sister, on the other hand, I don't know if she wants to have, she just left the house, right? She left, they moved out like in 2018. And I don't know if my sister wants to have mom back in the house again, like right after they left and gained their independence. So, no, but my mom, after retirement, she wants to spend like half the year over there or something like that. So, or a good substantial amount of time of the year over in North Carolina to be with her granddaughter as much as she can. I don't talk about it much, but my niece, my mom's granddaughter, my niece is on the spectrum. So she needs help a bit, and she has therapy and stuff to do. So my mom wants to help out with that as much as she can. Well, with feeding and giving time and attention while my sister rests, because my sister, she's now a stay-at-home mother, and she's taking care of her daughter 24/7, and it's not an easy thing to do. I've done it when, I helped raise my niece also for the first two years of her life before they moved over there. So 2 or 3 years. And it takes a village to handle a child. I don't have any kids of my own. It's a on the job learning for me. How to change a diaper. Oh my gosh, changing a diaper was so scary when I first did it, because I was alone in the house. I was babysitting and everybody went to work, and I'm like, okay, I hope nothing happens. And she ended up pooping like 3 times in under an hour or something, or an hour. I don't know what was wrong, but I had to Google how to change a diaper while I was in the middle of changing a diaper. And that was very traumatic for me. It's like, wow, I didn't know a smell could be that potent from an infant. And she was just drinking, formula or milk at the time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's strong. And I was just trying not to freak out. But anyway, enough diaper talk. I just remember that, and that was pretty interesting for me to Google how to change a diaper while I was changing a diaper on an infant.
Well, you're lucky that it's not 1993, and there is no Google to help you out with that.
That is true. I would have. I don't know what I would have done. Actually, I would have tried something. Probably like hose her off in the front yard or something. No, I wouldn't do that. But
all right, so I'm gonna tell you a story. This
Sure.
is an embarrassing one. So when I was probably, I'm gonna say 4, 5, my grandmother, my mother's mother, brought me. I was probably 4. I'm gonna go with 4. My grandmother, my mother's mother, brought us some like cakes, like honey bun type cakes that are prepackaged that she had gotten from the Merita store, and I ate a couple of those cakes. Well, my stomach started to rumble, and I had to go to the bathroom.
Mm.
So I sat on the toilet and I went a ton. Right.
Ooh.
Now, I grew up in a junkyard, like the first, 3-4 years of my life. So we hadn't moved out of the junkyard. It hadn't been too long. Right. So my parents have pictures of me using a toilet in the middle of a junkyard that has no outhouse around it. It was, my grandpa tore down a house, took the toilet, set it out in the junkyard to sell it. And there I was out in the junkyard playing like all of us kids did. And so I just took a crap in this, toilet that had no water in it. So, you crap in it. And I'm sure my cousins did the same. The poop would just build up. Well, and also I grew up watching Looney Tunes, cartoons and stuff, right? So for some reason, I was sitting on this toilet and I thought that I was pooping so much that it was going to overflow the toilet. I know it sounds ridiculous.
But I get you. Yeah, I understand.
Right?
It's just,
right?
yeah.
I mean, because you see the cartoon of the hen laying eggs. All of a sudden, there's a big, huge mound of eggs.
Exactly, yes.
And you think that's how it happens, right? But it doesn't. So I am sitting there, and it's a small house, and I see the sink over there, and I'm like, well, I could just hop up on the sink, and I could fill up the sink.
Okay.
So... But because I had explosive diarrhea, I mean, we're talking Barry Rose Ethiopian food. Well, I shit from the toilet across the floor because so these cakes were out of date and old. And, because I was unsupervised, I ate a ton of them, I'm guessing. I go over to the sink and I start shitting, and I think I'm going to fill up the sink. I wasn't. So I said, I better go to the bathtub. Oh. So now I go. So there's like a triangle of feces in the bathroom floor. And my stomach, and I didn't feel good. My stomach was cramping. I felt nauseous. And of course, now the room is filling up with feces and the smell of feces. And then finally, I am sitting with my butt hanging over the bathtub. And I am pooping in the bathtub. And my dad comes in and goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I've got the runs and I'm pooping." He says, "But you're pooping in the bathtub." I said, "Because I thought that everything else was filling up and I didn't want it to run over the floor." And he says, "Yeah, but you also shit in the floor." And I said, I know I didn't mean to. It just wouldn't stop coming out of my butt. And he says, "How can you have so much in you?" So anyway, we wash out the tub, then I shower, and then I have to clean up the poop that is all over the floor and the counter. And so basically we used a hose and sprayed it and squeegeed it and mopped it. And that was the story of me and my sister cleaning up the poop.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. But that's all for the Barry Rose tribute episode. So come back next week.
Well, that happened in North Carolina. Where your sister and your niece are, and where your mom's going to go for half the year. That's also where Travis Raines is at. And we have this wonderful conversation with Matt Crowder and Travis Raines that we'll go to now.
Yeah, we had some wildfires a couple years ago.
Where at?
Well, I know, like up near Mount Airy, they had a wildfire last year, Pilot Mountain.
Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. Matt, I don't know if you know, but I'm originally from North Carolina.
Yeah, you're from Wilmington, right?
Right. Yep. But originally I'm from Mount Airy, which is just north of
Mayberry.
Charlotte.
You're from Mayberry.
Yes. Very, very small town.
And you saying Mount Airy is just north of Charlotte is like me saying that I live in a Charlotte suburb.
Yeah, I know. I think I've been through Mount Airy before. I've been through the northern part of North Carolina.
Well, if you go 77, you go straight from Charlotte up to Mount Airy. So that's just
Yeah, and it still takes you about an hour and 15 minutes or so.
90 miles, brother. Hour and a half.
Yeah. I've been up 77 a bunch. So.
But it's one road.
Yeah.
God.
Well,
fun times.
I got 74 and 85. That's how I get to Charlotte. So.
That sounds about right. It's been a while, but like I said.
So 74, I think, is the road that goes on to 52, right?
Well, it's kind of screwy because they got that like I-74 now.
Oh, yeah.
That's what is it? It actually starts in Indiana, I think, and then it stops when it gets to the mountains, and then it picks up at like 77 and goes all the way to 40, and that'll take you down to Wilmington.
Yeah, so that is off of 52 near Mount Airy, and it was screwed up all us hillbillies there for a little bit.
Yeah.
As long as it's not mountain people, I think we're okay.
Oh no! I always tell people this. Like, people are like, "Oh, you live near the mountains? That must be like that's where all the hill folk and stuff live." And I'm like, "Yeah, but if you'd ever been to the eastern part of the state, you would much rather be up with the hill folk."
Why do you say that?
Oh no! Well, the eastern side of the state, you go into some of them towns and they are dirt poor. We stopped at this town. My wife went to East Carolina.
Uh-huh.
So we kept having to go back up there because she kept getting like scholarships. So we'd have to go to scholarship dinners, and then we went up there for graduation. Well, the first time we went, we stopped at this town called Bailey, and I swear it was like stepping into a time machine. Like they had 2 gas stations, and the pump still had like the dials in them, and they had a Hardee's, and then they had a diner, and the diner was a single wide trailer, like on fucking Main Street. That was the diner. I told my wife, I said, if the kitchen in there catches on fire, you would not make it out the door in time. It would just burst into flames.
I was gonna say that the Hardee's have the Monster Burger, because it's like,
yeah, absolutely.
It's Carl's Jr. out here, because I find it funny. Like, I mean, where I grew up in Minnesota, I know we had Hardee's forever, and then those slowly died out. But the Monster Burger was always like the thing. Oh, this is the coolest goddamn thing ever. Let's just, destroy the Monster Burger. Probably be on the toilet for 30 minutes.
Yeah. But we had. I guess they still got the Monster Six Burger. I've never been a big fan of Hardee's burgers, so. I usually get something else when I do go through there. Or I get breakfast. They still got a good breakfast. So. But yeah, there used to be Hardee's around here everywhere. And then Jerry Richardson sold them all off to buy the Panthers.
Yeah, that worked out well.
And then he invested in Bojangles, and now there's Bojangles everywhere. So. Yeah, it did. It worked out pretty well for him.
Yeah, man, this is why I love the brothership. You learn shit. I didn't even know that he owned Hardee's. I didn't know he sold them. Didn't know he bought the Bojangles. I mean, this is awesome.
Yeah, he was a big franchisee in Hardee's, and like I said, he sold pretty much all of his franchises when the Panthers came to be, because he needed the money. But he doesn't need the money now. We say that. He probably doesn't know who he is anymore, but he doesn't need the money anymore. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say by the time he had to sell the Panthers to Tepper, I'm like, he looked like he was about ready to fall down a flight of stairs and hopefully maybe get back up.
Yeah. It was like them last couple years with Al Davis. When you're like, who's this skeleton up in the owner's box here that keeps firing coaches? Like, you're gonna let the crypt keeper fire you, man?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, seeing Al Davis's last years is like that's like that's like seeing death in real time before your eyes.
Well, when Al Davis just became a liver spot, that was like the beginning of the end for Al Davis.
That was enough to like have it go downhill. But I mean, look at Mark Davis. I mean, he looks like, you know, the fat kid at the candy store who had probably too many candy bars, and then mom and dad just cut his hair with a bowl, and he just looks disgusting.
Yeah, and people should give him a little bit of slack because he's not that rich, right? He just owns the football team. There are some owners that just aren't rich. They just happen to own a fucking football team.
Nepotism, man, nepotism.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, it's not really nepotism. It's more like the family business, I guess. Which I'm sure he made a good chunk of money moving to Vegas.
Oh, definitely. Well, yeah, Oakland
practically built them. Yeah.
I mean, you go to Oakland, it's like they have the Coliseum, which has, you know, probably went through about 3 name changes since I moved here. And, you know, it's like just a really toilet venue. It's old. And the city didn't want to update it.
You got to remember this. What was it? In 82, they moved to L.A. because they were tired of playing in the Oakland Coliseum. And then in 95, they moved back and they were playing in the fucking Oakland Coliseum again for like another
it's just like
25 years.
Yeah, no, it's like the Athletics. They've been fighting MLB and the city of Oakland to get a new stadium. They tried to relocate to San Jose, and then the San Jose Giants, which is an affiliate, you know, pretty much stopped that, and the MLB really didn't help, and the city really hasn't done them any favors. And I think like 5 or 6 years ago, they had this backup. All the toilets overflowed at the Coliseum, so shit just went over the place. I'm like, yeah, that's when you know it's time to shut it down.
I think I saw a thing with Antonio Gates where he was talking about that. He was like, yeah, we played that week in Oakland when they had like the sewage line rupture, and he was like, every time we went back after that, he's like, that's all you could smell in there was sewage. Yeah,
sounds like Veterans Stadium. I always heard stories about Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. It was like built on an angle. I mean, if Jamie Ward was on this episode, I'm pretty sure he'd probably have a few Veterans Stadium.
Oh man, yeah. Oh, about how great it was. And
literally that place was, for all intents and purposes, I always heard was a toilet. The field was shit. It was just, it was hell to play at.
Yeah. See, where I'm from, I'm not wasn't far from DC, so I got a lot of family that went to like RFK, and they talked about how, like, you know, somebody gets up and you could feel like the whole bleachers shaking, somebody walking around. Like everything's made of wood. There's 10,000 people in there smoking cigarettes, throwing matches down on it and
shit. Got the hogettes. The 4 fat dudes who wanted to dress up as women and pigs, which is always fun.
Oh yeah. Well, they had the hogs.
No, the 80s teams, and even the last team in 91 that ended up winning, and then they pretty much have been in the toilet since.
Yeah. Well, when you have a toilet owner and you play in a stadium that nobody can really get to.
Oh yeah, no.
Then, I mean, that's why they're wanting to move back in town, into DC or closer to DC, because like when you have a city that has like numerous like modes of public transportation and you build a stadium that's not really near any lines that run on that public transportation, it's not that good. people are going to have a hard time getting there.
Yeah, no. It's like when you're going through DC on I-95, it's like the most god-awful, soul-crushing feeling in the world. I remember going through there one time, like during rush hour, and I'm like, if I had to do this every day, I'm noping right out of that.
Yeah. You want to say, once you hit the Beltway, you don't want to drive anymore. You want to find a metro station, just take the metro kind of wherever you want to go. If you're ever in DC, never stay in DC. You want to visit DC, never stay in DC. Stay in like Maryland. You can catch the train. You can take it to DC. It'll take you wherever you want to go. It's not that expensive. And plus, everything in DC is free. All the museums are free. The zoo's free. Now, some things you got to pay for, but you can go into any Smithsonian and not pay a dime.
Yeah, I stayed in Mount Vernon. I think the only time I ever went to DC, and that was I think that was enough because I haven't been back since.
Yeah, I love DC. So I've been there. I used to go stay with my grandfather, and he'd be like, "You want to go to DC tomorrow?" And it's like, "Yeah, sure." And we'd get up at like 5 a.m. and catch the train and ride it down and stay all day in DC, and then catch the train back, and wasn't too bad.
I went to DC once when I lived in Raleigh. And a friend of mine and we drove up to see one of our old friends that we had been buddies with in Chapel Hill, and I went to school there. So we drove up, and it had to be February, maybe the 1st of March. And we get up there, and I'm in a Toyota Corolla. I'm going to guess the year would be 2003, because I had a 2000 Celica through college. And then when that lease was up, I turned it in and got the Corolla, which I ended up hating. It was one of the worst mistakes of my life. And we get up, and it starts to snow. And so I'm on 95 in a Corolla, and it's snowing and icing. And I come off of not knowing where we were. This is before GPS. I mean, I'm sure there were, but we didn't have it. We were using a map.
I was about to say, did you print off your MapQuest?
Yes.
And was following them for them loops that MapQuest loved to take you through?
100%. And so I said, we got to stop because it's getting too icy. We're going to wreck and die. And so we've come off of this, off this exit, and I go to the left. I run straight into the Pentagon. And get to a checkpoint. Well, the part that I left out was we'd been drinking since we left Raleigh, and not that I'm bragging about or I'm proud about it. That was just it was the way that I was back then, and so I was like, "Holy crap, we're going to get arrested or detained or something." And the guy said, "Just turn around and keep back on 95." And so we went. We were staying with a friend on K Street. So it was an absolute shit show of a mess, and that was ended up being a weekend. And I should have. That's one of the times in my life I probably should have died, but I made it through that craziness and didn't get arrested. Didn't have any problems. Almost going into the Pentagon. And that was just a couple years after 9/11.
Yeah,
so.
I was about to say. What is it? There's a mall up underneath the Pentagon. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah, the Pentagon. They call it Pentagon City. It is a town. There are thousands of people that live in the Pentagon. They have pretty much everything you need within the footprint of that building, including a mall. If you get off on the metro station there is literally a mall as soon as you get off the train. And then there are doors. It's weird, like you're walking through a store and there's a door in the back that you're not allowed to go through. Unless you got a key card.
I had no idea. That is so cool.
It's nice when you're in a grocery store and there's a guy with a M16 standing by a door in the back.
Oh, you know where I actually have seen that in my real life is in Panama.
Oh yeah.
We were in a McDonald's and they had armed guards, 2 of them, in a McDonald's in Panama City. And of course, when we got there, I don't know if it was typically like that. I'll probably guess it wasn't, but they were having a protest, and I can't remember exactly what the shirt said, but the flags they were waving, but it was a Panamanian woman with a Panamanian flag dropped over, and it said, it said that the U.S. was raping Panama, and so there was a protest to get all of the Americans out of Panama, and this was '93 when I was over there. And so we walked into that, and there's 2 guys with automatic machine guns that were just standing there guarding the McDonald's. I should have died that time too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of Costa Rica when I went for work. The few times that I went, I stayed right next to the office, and there was a Sheraton, and then there was a casino, and they had the federal cops with sawed-off shotguns, like literally perusing the premises. It was funny as hell because I'm just laughing at it. I'm like, for how many colones you probably have in there is probably not as much as a U.S. city. So I'm like, why are you guarding this with like probably a nice little weapon that's probably going to put, a good size hole in you. But they're all over the place. But,
really? Why is that?
Probably because someone will come in drunk, and it's connected to the hotel too. So it's like you go in, and in the city of San Jose, it's like it's really neat because it's like in the city itself, there's just this constant breeze. It can be 85 degrees. You can have a 20-mile-an-hour wind, and you're sweating to death, but the breeze makes it palatable. And then you're walking in, you get that, and then you're walking towards the front desk, and then the first right you see is a casino, all the lights going, and you got the guys in the suits, and then you got the guy literally like this holding his, shotgun being like, okay, gringo, make your move, and we're going to have some fun if you're going to, do something. But, I mean, and then they had the perimeter covered outside, too, by the parking lot, so probably just maybe about another 100 feet, and they didn't fuck around, let's just put it that way. But as long as you mess with them, they didn't mess with you.
But crab's not real high in Costa Rica, is it?
No, I mean, it's like where I was staying, it was like in the center of the city. But
I think they got kind of like got like a militaristic government down there too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A lot of investment is going there right now because, like, I went there the first time in 2016. A lot of dilapidated buildings the farther out you went. And then I came back in the end of 2018. So much foreign investment had gone in there because they have tax-free zone. So essentially they have U.S. companies that can, they have a spot where they get headquartered or they have an office space. And then they use that as their location in order to send like goods and stuff, whether it be a tech firm like I work for or anything else. They get it tax-free. They don't have to pay tax on the stuff coming into the country, which is amazing. Like, there's like 40. I mean, to me, it's just like they have a like I saw Maserati dealerships, and I'm like, what the hell is someone in Costa Rica going to do with a Maserati? And I'm like, this thing, it looked great. And I still claim they do American food in other parts of the world better than they do in America. Like they have American fast food that is 5 times better than places like, I swear their Quiznos was like the cat's ass. That was like gourmet food. Even the stuff, and I had tamales from my teammates down there, which was great because it was around Christmas time. That was always great. But no, that country was like in the city, you're fine, but you get the outskirts Then it starts to get like you're getting grassy. It's like kind of in the middle of like emerging economy / like third world in some places, but where I was at, they ain't touching me.
Yeah. So you were there at Christmas time.
Yeah, just before Christmas.
I have to ask you, did they play? Did you hear often? I want to wish you Merry Christmas to Jose Feliciano.
No, I did not.
Yeah.
Thank God. Here, I would have probably heard it here more than there.
Yeah.
Well, I was in Panama, so I was right after Thanksgiving and right before Christmas, 30 days, and anytime the radio was on and we heard music, it was that song, and that was the first time I ever heard it, and it did it for me.
Oh yeah, no, that and probably, I mean, we could probably go into worst Christmas songs of all time. There's Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time, which is enough to make you want to stab your eyes out because I'm just like, no, I can't deal with this anymore.
Yeah, that's the Paul McCartney deal.
Yeah, so awful.
I listened to Kerry Silkin, and he said that was one of his favorite Christmas songs. Like, how could that be?
How could that be? I'm like, it's been played more than, I'd say, to death than any Christmas song.
Well, and you're talking about Christmas songs, there's like, 25 of them, and then like 10,000 people have their version of that song. So
yes, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's about right. You have your staples. Where I remember the one time I was in New York, and I wasn't drunk. I was just wanting to be an asshole, and at the top of my lungs in the middle of New York City, I think I was with a friend of mine and his girlfriend, and I start singing Most Wonderful Time of the Year by Andy Williams, which to me is one of the most sarcastic songs of all time, because realistically, if you're working during the holidays and you're like, it's not the most wonderful time of the year, it's absolutely the shits. And you're just like, it's funny to me. And I remember vividly this New Yorker telling me, go back over the bridge, you B&T bitch. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, what did I do? And for people not familiar with B&T, that is bridge and tunnel trash, which New Yorkers think that New Jerseyans are, which I had no idea. I'm like, I'm not even from here, and I'm getting motherfucked in the street. And then my buddy's girlfriend sticks up for me. He's like, don't you talk to him like that, you fucking bitch. And he just goes back and forth, and my buddy's pulling his girlfriend. I'm just laughing because this is hilarious to me. I'm like, I didn't even want to fight, but I'm just being stupid and out there. And this person, I guess someone pissed in her cornflakes and, decided to be a little bit hostile that night. But no, those are, fun times that you can have. But, that's Christmas songs in general, man. There's Santa Claus is Coming to Town is always a good staple. You have Jingle Bells, Run, Run, Rudolph by Chuck Berry is always a good one. That's great.
Yeah.
Man, Chuck Berry was a character, wasn't he?
Oh, that's one thing I really regret. I wish I would have went to St. Louis and saw him once before he died, because the thing of it is the man had so much music and didn't attain the heights that he probably should have. But he would always go to this club in St. Louis every month and have a show in St. Louis. And as he was older, I think he did it maybe like 6 or 7 months. This is probably around 2007, 2008. I'm like, okay, when he does go back around. But the thing of it is, they'd sell out so fast because I think a lot of locals would do it. And the club was small, probably. So I don't know how many tickets you're going to shovel in.
And if you take any ladies with you, tell them not to use the bathroom. Just hold it. Trust me, just hold it.
Yeah, it's just like, sorry, I'm not going to whiz in front of you. My bladder feels like a 10-pound ball peen hammer and just about ready to go to the floor. So don't mind me while I'm trying not to urinate all over you.
Yeah.
Well, but he also had his own nightclub.
Yeah.
If I remember the story correctly, it was like on
like
a compound.
Restaurant. Yeah, he had like a restaurant and like nightclub.
Yes.
And he had the cameras in the toilet, and he was videotaping women peeing.
Yeah, wasn't that? I'm trying to think when that was. That like I think it was in the 70s, or was that later on in his life? Because I'm trying to harken back to the great documentary film Hail Hail Rock and Roll. If you've never seen that, that's Chuck Berry's concert with Robert Cray, Keith Richards. They all come into, I think it was his 50th birthday. They were doing this big bash. Came out in the mid 80s. So if you've never seen it, great concert kind of documentary film about how much infighting there was and to get it onto the stage, but also just to see how kind of it all came together. It's just really, really neat.
I heard a story, and I'm trying to think of who it was that I heard, but they were actually there. So it may have been someone wrestling related or music related. It was on a podcast, but they talked about being in this place, and it was a nightclub that he went on, and this was like later in his life, and then he would get up on the stage and play, and it was like on a place where he lived, and it was restaurant, nightclub, all in one. I should see if I can find it, but there's go ahead.
It was 1990 when he got caught with the camera in the women's room.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I was gonna say, I'm like, it was either later on in his life after the hits didn't start coming and he just kind of faded away. I think even after the 1970s and even into the 80s.
Look, at the end of the day, Marvin is the one who found the sound, right? Chuck just put it out there.
Oh, Marvin Berry?
Yeah, Marvin Berry.
Yeah. Man, I'm going to tell you that the Family Guy version of that is hilarious, right? I mean.
Oh, yeah. I've been catching up on my Family Guy here lately.
So one of the best Christmas presents I ever got was, and I'm just going to talk until Christy gets on, and then I'm going to ask you each a question, and then I'm going to go to bed. But one of the best Christmas presents I ever got was a video from one of my friends who's an actor. He's a karaoke host, but I don't know if you guys remember this, but you remember, I don't know what movie it was from. I'm gonna guess Inglourious Bastards, but it's got Hitler in it, and he's talking to these people, and he's very animated and talking about stuff. And you could go back and you could go and there was a website where you could put your own subtitles in.
Yeah, they still make them. It's actually from like a pure Hitler film.
Oh, it was?
It was like the last days of Hitler or something like that.
So he makes one of these for me. And I'm going to tell you, it was tremendous, because he is so creative. And I could never come up with so many jokes. And he makes so many like jokes that are inside jokes that no one would get except for he and I, right? And he got his first girlfriend in I'm going to say 20 years. And I said, you have to show her that because it really is a masterpiece of the funny jokes. And then you have to explain why each of the jokes are funny. Yeah. And one of them was about Family Guy, and he kind of goes on and on about it for a second, with Hitler speaking about how I think that Family Guy is the end all and be all of comedy humor. And I realized that that's what he got from our conversations, because I don't watch TV. I watch more now that I'm married than I did before, and I've only been married 3 years, right? So I didn't watch a lot of TV. So whatever I learned, it was like from me falling asleep watching Family Guy at night. So I would learn about pop culture or history or whatever from Family Guy. And so he would talk about a Seinfeld reference, and then I would go, "Oh yeah, it's like that time on Family Guy where Brian did this," and so he made a bunch of those jokes. In that video, that was it was tremendous. And then one of the things that Hitler says in that video was like, in Southern German, it sounded like he said crepes on butter. Well, he made it so that he was saying at the same time, "Hey, I like my crepes on butter." And that's the words lined up exactly with what Hitler sounded like it was saying. It was tremendous.
Yeah, it sounds like the YouTube videos that would go around where Hitler would be pissed off about something, and then someone would put subtitles in.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That.
Yeah,
they're like down in the bunker. He makes everybody leave, but like 3 guys, and he chews their asses out.
Yes, that's exactly it. That's the one.
Yeah,
like he said something
like, there's always the woman in the hallway that's like crying.
Yes. Well, like one of them was like, he was like, people say I only have one testicle, but I really have a huge penis. And he adjusts his collar, and my friend is like, "Yeah, it's about to come out of my neck," So
it's good that we can have a laugh about Hitler.
or you could harken back to The Simpsons, where Grandpa Simpson dresses in drag, and then one of the coconut boobs falls out. He's like, "Das ist ein keine Bubi," and just literally gets me every time. Yeah. And it's like, this is freaking great.
Well, so the joke that he would always make was, so he asked me when we first met, he's from the Midwest, he's from Iowa, Story City, Iowa. And he'd say, "Secrets, what kind of name is that?" I said, "Oh, it's German." And so his joke that he would make, which is not, nice to make anymore, but he would say, "Oh, is that why you never watch Seinfeld? Because you're German?" and of course that's not the reason. It's just I just was too busy to watch TV at all back when Seinfeld was on, and so that was always his joke. And then that's why he did the Hitler thing, was because I was German, and then there was so many of the inside jokes. Is Chrissy dodging us? Is that what's going on?
I don't know.
So
he may need to be beat for this. With Pelos Atkins. So,
well, the one thing that I wanted to ask everybody, and I was hoping he would be here, so I'll have to ask him another time. And then I'm going to shut up and let you guys talk, and I'll hang out for a little bit. But the brothership is very vast, and you got a bunch of different guys and girls from different areas, different backgrounds, and we all have this one love of whatever it is, but we all have different careers. So if we could all just share one thing that you learn in your career that maybe the average person doesn't know, that you would, that might be like contrary to the norm, like so you're in tech, Matt. Travis is auto mechanic. So I'll go first. I'm in real estate. So I'll say one thing that isn't, that you might think is, the norm or whatever. So one thing that I would say is that you don't have to pay 6% to sell your house, or 5%, that there's other options for you, which don't make a big deal now. But if the housing market crashes, which it should, then, because people can't buy startup houses anymore, that's a whole nother thing. But if it should crash, then, it's important for someone to give you a deal and maybe list it 1.5 or 2%. And then, so your total would be, 4% or 4.5 or 5%, but much less than the usual 6% that your real estate friends are going to tell you that they would charge you to do.
Yeah.
I'll say this, but because when I got into the business, which was in 2015, 2016, a lot of the people, the National Association of Realtors says that people are going to sell their house on average of every 8 years. So 2015 or 16, when I got into the business, till who was that? Oh, Matt. Oh, Chris.
Seriously, that needs to happen.
So in 2015, 2016, that's like 6 or 7 years from the bubble, right? So a lot of people that I first started working with were going to lose money if I didn't give them a deal on their home. And so I gave them a deal on their home. And, I didn't charge them 3%. And so they were able to get rid of their house without paying out of their pocket. So that's the reason that I say that. So you don't have to. There's other options that will give you, full service. And the last thing I'll say on it is here I saw people selling in Florida, Central Florida on the Gulf Coast, selling $2.5-3 million houses, and they're taking a picture, and you can see the guy's reflection in the picture, and it's a guy with a big belly. So it's not like a girl in a bikini, anything that would be attractive. It's an old middle-aged white dude with a big belly taking a picture in the bathroom. So you know that that's the realtor taking the picture by himself, not getting professional photographers to do it. So if these guys are cutting costs, why aren't they passing that on to the consumers, right? And it only costs $200 to get someone to come and take pictures of your house. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. So, hey, you don't have to pay 6% to sell your house. Hey, if you're making a shit ton of money and you want to pay your cousin to do it, then please go ahead and do that. But when the bubble bursts and you paid, $200,000 for your house, now it's only worth $125 like it should be, then you might want to consider, getting someone to do it that won't charge you an arm and a leg. All right, who's next?
I have a house buying horror story for you, Frankie.
Oh my gosh, please tell me.
Oh no, I don't have the time to tell you this. It'd be a little teaser for you.
On the next episode.
But I will say this. We bought this house in 2019. We paid $117,000 for it. 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, and an unfinished basement. And that was like the going rate for these kind of houses. Mm-hmm. People across the street from me bought theirs for $125 earlier in 2019. They just sold theirs for $235,000. And what it was, her grandmother had died, so they're moving into her grandmother's house. So they don't even have to buy a house in this market.
Wow.
And they walked away doing that.
Well, so this house that I'm in now was $425, and it appraised for $415, and so my wife had to come $10,000 more out of pocket for this house. This is before we were married. This is 2016. We just refinanced last year, and it was $595. The same house down the street just sold for $699. But that house was flat on the ground. This one's raised up a little bit because we're 3 houses from the beach. Yeah. So yeah. All right. Who's next with a life hack from their work?
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I could. Well, being in tech, you deal with a lot of first world problems, but for the most part, it's like when you're working with people, and especially now, the pandemic has changed my industry very, very much. Even though there has been hints of remote work, because obviously you have people like my company, Akamai Technologies, is a multinational company. We have offices all over the world. So you have, people that will work kind of like in a call center setting, but also you'd have in-person support. So it's like your patience level has to be like spot on. And with the pandemic, it's like you roll through where it's like you always hear these things about, oh yeah, they have software that's, looking at you all the time to, check your productivity, which that is true in a way, but not really. Like with us, I'm sure they have found a way. I'm ambivalent towards tech. I'm like, yeah, if they're tracking my fat ass, I'm like, they already know everything, so why hide it? I'm like, where people get freaked out, where it's like, I'll see the tape over the camera or the camera cover over the camera, like, oh my god, like they can hear my shit, and I'm like, yeah, you're okay. I'm sure I'm sure the the 40-year-old security analyst leering into the microphone of your laptop is, just overjoyed with the conversation he's hearing about your mundane BS. But for the most part, it's like with us, I think the biggest misconception is like, yeah, a lot of IT guys, they just kick up, they're in their back corner and they're just doing this and like they're just wait for people to come up. Now that's really not the case. Like what I do, I'm in our office now in Santa Clara. And, there's like the room I'm in is where I take care of the majority of my stuff when I'm here. And then at home, I'm usually on my couch, in a remote application, remoting into people's machines. It's a queue. It's constant traffic. It's, every day. But for the most part, some people will be good. Some people will understand and other people won't, just like every other business. But for the most part, and a lot of it is just patience and personal touch. Once you have the people skills, and a lot of people in technology don't. I mean, you have people that will roll in and looks like them and the machine have made love, and that's how they are the rest of their life. They're very awkward. They're very talk to some engineers. They're fascinating human beings. Yeah. Also, probably the most dullest human beings, but get paid the obscenest amount of money.
And on top of that, most engineers that I've met are like the dumbest people in the world. Like they will sit there and you can hear them talk and you're like, this dude is really smart. And then they do the stupidest things. Like they have zero common sense.
Are absolutely the shits, but their specific skill makes them so much money. Common sense is dead to these people. It's just like that part really of the brain blew up and it is never coming back. And then they're just and they'll give you a bunch of words that either you don't understand or it's like breaking into 3 different languages to understand exactly what they're doing. So when I'm on the phone with somebody or I'm trying to chat with them via a chat app or a remote application, I'm having to be MacGyver or Sherlock Holmes literally to get this information out of it and give them a solution that is satisfactory. And if you can't, you usually escalate after that. But for the most part, I've been doing this for 7 years and I know our organization pretty much inside and out. So it gets easier over time, but it's like everything else. Once you get your feet wet, it's fun to play with the tech because that's always the cool thing. But for the most part, it's just you try your best not to hospitalize people when they get really pissed at you because you're just I make 1/10 of what all you bastards make, so I think you're okay.
Being an auto mechanic, nobody ever feels like they've been ripped off whenever they come to pick up their car from you, and nobody's ever come back 3 days later angry with a completely different problem, blaming it on you. But I will say this, for the most part, most of your local mechanics don't really rip people off as much as some of the dealerships aren't that bad even. But some of the chain places, terrible. But labor is labor, and what it is what it is. And a lot of people think that, I'm charging them 3 or 4 hours of labor for a, 45-minute job or something. And I'm really not. It's taken me 3 hours to do that job. Sometimes it takes less, sometimes it takes more, but pretty much every mechanic shop goes by a labor guide. It is a standardized labor guide.
Mm-hmm.
You look up the car, you look up what you're doing, and it gives you roughly the time it should take to do that job. Sometimes it's way off on the high side, sometimes it's way off on the low side, but most mechanic shops charge you that. And then parts mark up, but you have to do that too. But yeah, a lot of people tend to not be happy when they come pick up their car at the shop.
I've got two car related stories. So my son's car that we bought him was a 2009 Ford Escape Hybrid, and when we got it, there was the sensor light for the tire pressure, and so I took it to this guy who's the mechanic that's near here, and he's I think he's from Laos, or his name is Ten, and I had to stop by there before because I had a nail in my tire.
Man, them Laotians are wild. Let me tell you, you want to have a good time with some people, go hang out with some Laotians.
well, this is really cool because it was like right after the pandemic hit. And so I had a mask on, he had a mask on, and his name is Ten. And I talked to him for just a second. As I left, he says, "Hey, man, I love you." I said, "I love you too." He goes, "No, man, I love you. We're all in this together. We'll get through it." I was like, "I love you too, man. Have a good day." And that's how I left. And so I came home to my wife. I was like, "That's about the nicest guy." And she's like, "All right, that's our mechanic from now on, whatever we need." So I took my son's car there, and his son Randy, and you could tell that Randy might have been the screw up. And I can tell that when Tim talks to him, he's a little hard on him. But Randy's got to be in his mid-20s. He's got tattoos. And so I told Randy, "Hey, look, these things aren't working here in the tires." He went and he checked them. He goes, "Yeah, none of them are working." And he says, "Look, I can order these for you and put them on, and it'll be like $300. And he says, or you could go on Amazon and you could get them all for $50, and then I'll put them on for $10 a tire." And I said, "Okay." So that's what I did. I went home, I bought them on Amazon. They came in, and he even sent me the link for the ones that I needed, and I did it. And then he put them on for $10 a tire. And I'm like, that's a hell of a deal, right?
Yeah.
It was like, he could have, and he says, because he can't just order them off of Amazon. He'd have to go get them from wherever or whatever, right? AutoZone or Napa, and they have to make a run. And I got it. I got it because it takes time to go get the parts. It's this is a little family-owned place. They're not going to have every part that you need for a car. They're going to have to order it, and they're going to get it from their supplier, whatever. And so the prices are going to be high, and they have to go get it. So they have to charge for that. And so I was very, very thankful, and I was like, "Man, that's so awesome." So for like $90, I got it done where it could have been $300. The other one is, so I had some body work done, and we bought this car off of Vroom, and I'm going to talk about it in our next podcast, so I'll make it short with the Broken Cafe. But so because Jeff was putting over Carvana, so I bought this off of Vroom, and it wasn't a couple months, and the paint started fading on the driver's side quarter panel, and I thought it was because I could see it more when I had my polarized sunglasses on, and I thought maybe it's just a finish or whatever. But then I actually saw it start to turn yellow, and so my wife said, "Oh, well, just go take it to." And she looked on Nextdoor, that app, and people said go to Superior. And so I went to Superior, and I was there about an hour, and finally they got me quoted, and they wanted $3,450. And so I drove back home, and I thought, damn, that's a lot for a quarter panel. And it was also weird too that the guy gave it to me and didn't say, "Hey, okay, good, this is it. When can we set you up?" He just gave me the estimate and just was, I just thought, man, that was weird. Why did he try and close me? Right. And say, hey, look, we've got the best prices in town or something. So anyway, I come home and I said to my wife, you know what? I'm going to go back to Tens and ask him if he knows anybody that gives me a good deal, because they hooked us up with my son's car. And she goes, oh, that's smart. So I went up to Tens and I said, Ten, who do you use to do your auto body work? He goes, I've got his card right here. Brian from Sunrise. I called Brian and he says, yeah, bring it down. Let me look at it. And he goes, yeah, man, I could do that. It's probably going to cost you though. I'm like, yeah, well, what are you thinking? Oh gosh, probably $900. I said, dude, when can you get this in? He says, oh, and this was like a Monday or Tuesday. I'll get you Friday. And I said, okay, and you can pick it up Monday. I said, heck yeah. And the other place that was going to charge me $3,450, they would have to wait 3 weeks before it got in, and then it would take them a whole week to get it done.
Yeah.
So
I don't do body work, and really what it is, most body shops, they don't really care about like the business coming in off the street, because they make so much off of insurance money. That's really all they care about. If they didn't have to do anything but insurance jobs, that's all they do.
Damn, I never thought of that. Travis, you're really smart, dude.
Well, it's the business I work in.
I know, but you also know a lot about the Panthers and the shit and the people that own this business and that business. You're a smart dude.
No. Yeah.
Man about town is what the kids call them.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I said man about town is what the kids call them.
Yeah, no kidding, man.
Yeah, they always say that down near the haberdashery.
One of the great old words, haberdashery.
Oh yeah. And what is it now? It's a popular name for dispensaries, so which is extra funny.
Paging Ryan in Newfoundland.
Yeah, he's so lucky.
Why's that?
You just like walk down the street and buy weed at the store.
Oh.
Well, there's tons of places. We have weed delivery here. I mean, good God.
Yeah.
That was even, what am I talking? I'm thinking, I think it was like a couple years even after, because I'm sure like in Silicon Valley, they have an app for everything, and that is no joke. They do really have an app for everything. Like, put in whatever the goddamn hell you want, and you have it. Like, there's moving apps, there's weed apps, there's just tons of shit. And it's just like, yep, there really is. We have now gotten it down to a science to pretty much legislate all the laziness we possibly can to get ourselves fatter, stupider, and everything else in between. I mean, it's insane.
I don't understand Florida's weed laws, because there's a store right next to Winn-Dixie that sells like Delta H, THC. Jan and I went this past week to this place in Gulfport, and they were having a dog, I don't know, some kind of street fair for dogs and stuff. And then there was a bus there that was called the Cannabis, and I got a picture of that I'm looking at. So, but Nikki Fried says when she gets elected that marijuana will be legal. So I don't know what's legal and what's not legal.
Well, it's medically legal in Florida, and you gotta apply for your medical card and pay for that, and then you gotta have a doctor sign off on it, and then you can go buy it at those shops. That's the only way you can buy it is if you have a medical card.
Yeah, the shop says no medical card needed. They got gummies, free gummy. You gotta be 21.
Well, and a lot of them sell like CBD, the Delta 8 or the Kratom, and that's kind of like it's kind of like O'Doul's.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Like if you smoke enough of it, you'll get pretty high, but you'll also smoke like $100 worth of it.
Oh.
That's the only way yeah.
Yeah,
I
plus,
gotcha.
plus I also think if that does happen, they'll tax the shit out of it like they do here and in Nevada and every place where the taxes they put on it are just fucking sky high because the government's just going to take their cut.
And in Illinois, what is it? I had to pay sales tax. I had to pay an out-of-state tax, which was like another 3%, and then I bought some stuff that was like over 30% potency, and that was like a different tax bracket for that. So I ended up paying, like, buying like $100 worth of stuff, and then I had like $25 in taxes on me.
Sounds about right. Because no, I remember being in Vegas and friends of mine, coworkers of mine were there, and then there's this huge dispensary out probably like a couple miles out off the strip, and just my God, the taxes that they were dropping like hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and I'm just like, I just looked at their receipts and just like, fuck, like that's a lot.
It was like the year Nevada legalized it, my wife had to go out there for work. And she's like, do you want to go with me? And all I'd have to do is, buy a plane ticket. Well, I was like, you know what? Take your dad. He's never been anywhere like that. Like, I have plenty of time to go to Vegas. Let him go. And then, like, an hour later, I realized, I was like, oh no, I've made a huge mistake. But I still let him go.
As long as he had fun, that's all that matters.
Oh, well, he likes people watching. So.
Oh God, Vegas!
That's the place to do it.
Yeah. There's lots of places here too. Go to San Francisco on any given day. You can see tons of great people watching.
She said he would get up in the morning and go sit down in the lobby and drink his coffee. He drank like 3 cups of coffee just watching people coming by.
Yeah, no, the characters, they're definitely there. I mean, good God, you can just walk up and down the strip and have all the people that are I call them the flickers, where they have like the escorts. They're like they flick the escort cards, and then they want you to bring the escorts up, and it's like, oh yeah, you're gonna score with this chick and all this other stuff. I'm like, yeah, no thanks, I'll pass.
But that's our 21st anniversary. We'll go to Vegas for a week.
Just have Fat Elvis marry you. So I told my wife when we hit like 25, and I mean we'll be at 9 in June. And I'm like, Fat Elvis is remarrying us when we hit this mark, so just FYI. Song of fucking Burning Love, just before we say I do again. And I'm like, that's perfect.
Yeah. And actually, I've thought about doing something like that. Like, renewing our vows in some, like, dumpy wedding chapel in Vegas. Or, like, hitting the drive-through wedding chapel, like Triple H.
Minus the very inebriated Stephanie.
Yeah, I was about to say, she'll be conscious. Unless
she will know what she's doing.
Yeah, unless she says no. But yeah.
The wife and I, we love Vegas. We have been there 2 times. Absolutely loved it. The last time it might have been my favorite, except for the place we stayed at, which was the Mirage, didn't have like affordable food.
Yeah.
And so weren't real excited about that part, but we were over we like to go hang out at the Casino Royale, which we didn't lose any money on the gambling part, and then you get the free drinks, and it was much better quick service, where at the Mirage you could sit there for 35-40 minutes and not get any service at all, and then there's just like no reasonably priced food. It was There was no food court at the MGM Grand that we stayed at last time. At least there was the food court area, and we got I got okay service. But the Casino Royale, which is next to the Best Western, which is just across the street, I mean, it was a 5-minute walk, if even that. You know, it was. We always had a server coming around, giving us the free drinks, and then we would tip $5 a round, which we thought was decent. And we just kept those drinks coming. I mean, where else are you going to pay $2.50 for a drink, including tip, right? Yeah. And we just kept those bad boys coming, and we had a great time. And we played a really cool game. It was Mask, the Jim Carrey, and it was like either we broke even or made a little bit. That was it. And we just had a good time. And it was right next to a White Castle, so we got our people watching in. And then we would also see the showgirls that walk on the street and sell the pictures with them. They would come in, and then they also let the homeless people come in and take showers, didn't kick them out. And I think that's cool.
Is that on that's not on the Strip, that's in Old Vegas, right?
No, that's on the Strip. It's right across from the Garage.
I was gonna say, if you go back with your wife, go to Old Vegas. You'll never have so much fun losing money or having entertaining, because these are people that have been to Vegas for years and years and years, and they really know how to take care of people. There's tons of stuff, like they call it Old Vegas for a reason. It's just like it's kind of a throwback, but it's really, really awesome if you ever want to get like away from the Strip. Old Vegas is always a good time. Everyone that I've ever that's ever went there and they've been there like multiple times, they're like, yeah, Old Vegas, we had probably the most fun. I lost money at Old Vegas, but I did not give a shit because the people were so entertaining, would like talk with you. Like, it was a very personalized experience as opposed to the Strip, where it's just like so just very stagnant. It's like, you know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
And it's just lots of fucking people. But there, it's just like they really take the time to like have a good time with you, which is fun.
Is that the downtown area?
Yeah, downtown is really, really good. Yeah. So they kind of nicknamed Old Vegas. I'm sure if you talk to Roman or like Brandon, I'm pretty sure they would probably tell you a few good places.
Yeah, we had dinner with Roman at Ellis Island, and that meal was the best meal that we had in Vegas by far. Well, also we had a meal with Brandon that was the taco stand is what it was called, but it was a little restaurant, and that was absolutely delicious too. But and Brandon picked that up, and that was really nice of him. But the thing that with Roman was we got one meal, and the wife and I split it. And Ellis Island, and Roman talked about going there, but then there was someone else that used to live there that's in our group that said that's where they used to hang out when they were there, and it was a local place.
Yeah, no, it's always fun when you find the local places. You get away from the tourist trap areas. Those are like the place. I mean, it's just, it makes the experience so much better, and it's like it feels like vacation as opposed to you're bussed from one spot to the other. And you're just like, this is, it's nice because you're getting away and you're not at home and you're able to do stuff. But when you get those local places, man, it's so much fun, and you're not paying out the ass just for food. And it's like, I totally get it. I mean, the last affordable meal I had in Las Vegas was the first time I went to Vegas was in 2006, where like every damn buffet was like $12.
Wow.
And that's, almost 15 years ago. But also, after 9/11 happened, everything like went in the toilet, and it took a while for it to come back. So things were affordable. They really took time to like really kind of keep you there and wanting you to have a good time. But now it's just like, it's ridiculous. You go to all these fancy fucking places, you're paying probably anywhere from $17 to $25 a person just to fucking eat. I'm like, who the fuck's got that kind of money? Like, and I'm talking normal folks, and even it's just like, yeah, you can get drunk and do all that fun stuff, but you want a goddamn good meal and all that for a decent price. Fuck. fuck no. I mean, I remember taking my girlfriend at the time. We went to like Wolfgang Pucks, and it's like my wife had fucking high taste for that. And I was just like, it's before I moved out here, and I was just like, yeah, dropping like $300 on this meal and fucking other stuff. And I'm like, we had been dating for probably about a year and a half at that point. And I mean, it's good food, but it's just like, no fucking way. It was just like, unless they're massaging it down my throat when I say
Yeah.
Yeah, we were on the tram, which was, kind of across the street from us, and we went south. I don't know where we were going, the MGM Grand or somewhere down that way, and going to a show. And there's this lady there waiting on the platform, and she had 2 kids with her and a dog, and it was like the cutest little dog, I mean, that I've ever seen. And it looked like it was one of those teddy bear breeds. Have you ever heard of those? So they sell them here. There was a pet land that sold them here, and my wife was looking for us a new dog, so she goes in there just to see what they were. $10,000 for a dog. Crazy, right? So this lady is standing there with her dog and 2 kids, and the dog's drinking out of like a little collapsible bowl, and she's got on like a hat, sunglasses, baggy clothes, and she's got 2 cell phones in her hand. And I said to myself, this lady's a celebrity. And I just knew it in my head. Just knew it. And she also had that skin that celebrities have. And, that's like super, super smooth without looking like it's fake. So anyway, I said to her, hey, what breed's your dog? She says, oh, I don't know. Ask the boy there. And I was like, damn, usually it's like people don't want you to talk to their kids, right? The 2 kids were probably, 5 and 6 or 7. They're very similar ages. And he told me it was like a something or poo or whatever. And then I went to my wife. I was like, who is that lady? And she's like, she looked at her. She's like, I can't tell. She's doing it right, And she's like, my wife's like, she's definitely a celebrity who don't want to be noticed, and because she had the hat, the glasses, the baggy clothes, didn't want me to talk to her, she's like, oh, I'd rather this weird guy I don't know on the public transportation talk to my son than me. So I don't know. That's my weird celebrity Vegas story.
Celebrity stories, those are always fun. I remember all my celebrity stories are like New York based, like Madison Square Garden, where I met most of mine. Like the one night where I took a very shitty photo that got put on very early Twitter of Jon Stewart and a few other people. I think Max Weinberg's wife and son, and I'm trying to think who else. It's the shittiest photo. I had never had a smartphone in my life. I was like the very, like, you're excited nervous, where it's like you fanboy out so much, but you have like no fear, but you do have fear, but you just don't know it. And you just don't give a shit. That was me totally. And then he made the crack. He's like, yeah, this is going to be my bar mitzvah card. This is going to be, my kid's bar mitzvah card, which I thought was very funny at the time. But I remember that night I saw so many damn people. It was like where I was sitting, I was like literally not even 10 feet to my left. There's Diane Sawyer and Mike Nichols, James Gandolfini and his entire posse and his wife. And then I think Christy Turlington and Edward Burns were like probably another 40 feet down. And, Jon Stewart and Jeffrey Ross was there, who was probably the spare prick at the wedding as far as, famous people in the entire building, where it's just like, yeah, you're the D-list of this fucking group. And, but it was very nice. I mean, most of them were, but you're just like, you're awestruck by just all this shit. And it's just like, and then I think there was one time Jim Gaffigan was literally walking right outside Madison Square Garden in a turtleneck, like right by me. And I'm like, what the fuck? Just crazy stuff. And no one batted an eye. And it's just like, cause they see fucking people all the time.
And it's cool to not be awestruck.
Yeah, no, it's just like you just kind of double take. I mean, it was like the only time there have been 2 times I've like been so starstruck. One time I almost passed out when I met Bret Hart, and this is like in 2007. No, it was 2006. His book came out, and when I was still living in Minnesota, like he had his book signing at the Rotunda in the middle of Mall of America. Like if you've ever been to Mall of America, or as I jokingly call the Mall of Hysteria, because it's just fucking gigantic, and they literally have this big area in the middle of the mall where they have signings. They'll have concerts like during the holidays. They'll have 20-foot Christmas trees and stuff like that.
Yeah, they'll have like an episode of Nitro there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Pastamania is not there anymore. Sadly, I know.
You can't get no Hulkaroni.
Oh goddamn! I think that place went because the funny thing is, it's been. I mean, now I think this is the 30th year it's been in existence. So it was built in '92 because they knocked down the Met Center and actually Metropolitan Stadium where the Vikings used to play, but that had been dormant for a long, long time. But yeah, no, I met Mick Foley there and Bret Hart, and literally I was so nervous, but he was the nicest person. He signed my shirt even though I didn't ask him. And I just totally fanboyed out, and I went down the stairs. After it was all done, I literally I caught myself. I got like the fucking very much like lightheadedness. I'm like, holy shit, I'm going to faint. I'm like, what the fuck's wrong with me? And luckily it didn't happen, but
imagine how you would have felt if you met Shawn Michaels, though.
Fuck Shawn Michaels. Michael Herrick, wherever you are, fuck Shawn Michaels.
No. I'm firmly on the HBK side too. So.
No, I know. It's like, the thing of it is like, you in the '90s, you were either a Bret guy or you were a Shawn guy. Outside of like the NWO and stuff that was happening, but you're talking, I'd even say going back to '94, you would have Bret and Shawn, even though Bret was marketably bigger in '93 and '94, and then '95 Shawn and '96 was more Shawn Michaels, and then it went back and forth in '97, and we all know how that turned out. But you know, it's the Hatfields and the McCoys. It's good versus evil. It's douchery, versus upstanding citizen. Whole 9 yards.
I will say this though. What was it? So Bret leaves. We all know about that. And less than 6 months later, Shawn's gone.
Yeah.
4 years. I think they kind of won the war without their 2 top guys.
Yeah, I know. I mean, and you can think about it too. If Bret would stay, how would it have turned out?
Yeah. But really, Shawn, from 2002 on, you don't really hear anything about him being negative backstage or being a problem or anything like that. The only time there was a problem was with the Hogan thing.
Yeah. Well, that
was really like, yeah. Well, and what it was is Hogan showed up Shawn. So Shawn's just like, I'm gonna go out here in the ring and I'm gonna show you up.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like, and I think you've heard the thing of it is now, I think there have been more stories that have came out, like his competitiveness with Angle, I think in like 2005, their match at WrestleMania was fantastic. And then later on, I think it was either Backlash. I think they had another one too. But as far as like modern, I think I would consider modern, even though it is almost, it's over 15 years old now. But
even that Shawn and Flair match.
Yeah, I was there. I was there in Orlando.
Flair should have never fucking wrestled again after that.
I agree, but it's Ric Flair, and Ric Flair can't help himself at this point.
Yeah. Well, Ric Flair needed the paycheck.
Well, I think Flair's needed the paycheck for a long, long time, sadly.
Yeah. But, Shawn and Brett both great in the ring. Shawn he had a little bit more. That's what I give Shawn. He had a little bit more than Brett did to me.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just like if you look at Brett's body of work from I'd say 1991, because I won't do the tag team stuff, even though because I think that's so muddled because of how great their tag team was in the late 80s. And even at the 90s Hart Foundation, they won the titles again, but they weren't that spectacular. I mean, it was realistically, to get the LOD over after their debut in Philly in SummerSlam 90, and then they lose to the Nasty Boys, and then the Nasty Boys job out to the the LOD at SummerSlam the next year. But then you have Brett and Perfect at SummerSlam 91, which is an excellent match. Even though I contend that his 93 match at King of the Ring is superior. The second round match he has with Mr. Perfect, even though Perfect at that point it came back, but he would go back on the shelf like probably a couple months later, because after he wrestled Shawn at SummerSlam of that year, he went in his period where he would like I'm going to come back but not come back, and then but I mean Brett in 1993, that era is so fun to me, and looking back on it, it's like from beginning of the year to end, even though he loses the title at WrestleMania, even though still the shittiest ending to a WrestleMania, Yokozuna jobbing to fucking Hogan in like 30 seconds. And it's just so dumb. But he had like his King of the Ring stuff, his stuff with Jerry Lawler. That feud doesn't get doesn't get the credit it deserves. Like that match, he fucking laid it in. He had Lawler in the sharpshooter for like 10 minutes. It felt like 10 minutes. And then, he beat Doink. He won the King of the Ring. And then, and then his Owen stuff, which didn't start till 94, but it, the seeds were there in the end of 93.
Yeah. Well, it was the Rumble where Owen kicked Brett's leg out of his leg.
Yeah, the 94. God damn it. I was talking with Rick about that that promo forevermore immortalizes Owen Hart, which is just so goddamn funny.
No. The Owen Hart promo I will always go with is his Slammy. When he wins the second Slammy, and he's like, I did it all on my own. He's basically we never got the Owen Hart Hall of Fame speech. So in my mind, Bulldog, you may have 2 belts, but I have 2 Slammies.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the truth too. I mean, and sadly, I don't think we ever will see it because of just the bitterness, and it's or people are going to have to die, and it's going to be like 50 years from now.
Yeah. See, 93 is when I started watching WWF. So I was like 8 then is when I started watching.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was, like I told Frankie on the last episode I was on, I was in AWA country, but I caught it towards the tail end, and I wasn't old enough to kind of get into it enough, though I did like it, because I'd see this, and this, but it was mostly WWF. I didn't start watching WCW until probably I watched a little bit of NWA, but I'd get like the syndicated Power Hour, where I would get like World Class, Crockett, and all this other stuff on like a 1 hour block on a syndicated station. It'd be like, it wouldn't be one of the big like CBS or NBC or ABC affiliates. It'd be like kind of a local channel that had some pull, but it was an affiliate. And I got that a little bit, but I didn't watch it enough. I started getting more and more into the other stuff, probably just I'd say that like in the middle of the Attitude Era, like 99 is where I really got hooked into it. But like early stuff, 93 to like 94, WWF, I watched a lot of 90 and then 95 and 95 and 96. And then what swore me off the WWF pretty much for good was that abortion of a pay-per-view in April of 96 with Ultimate Warrior and Goldust. And I'm like, this shit is fucking awful. I can't anymore. I can't. I watched it on pay-per-view and I was just embarrassed. And then funny enough, the NWO starts, pretty much a month later. And then, the rest is history.
Yeah, and then WCW brought Warrior in 2 years after that.
Fuck. I was never a fan of the Ultimate Warrior, even when he came back, and even before then, I was always a Hogan guy. I cried when he lost because I watched WrestleMania 6 on pay-per-view. And I literally ran into my brother's room and fucking sobbed like a little bitch. And I was like, well, you should have, blah, blah, blah. Then, but I was 8 at the time, so what the fuck did I know? Some silly little Mickey Mark, in the basement watching it with his older brother's friends, all this other crap. But I mean, I was never a Warrior guy. I didn't get the appeal. It's the same thing. Goldberg, same thing. And I'd always give people shit, like after in the early 2000s when people were chanting it. I'd be like, they do Goldberg. I'd be like, sucks. I'm like, he fucking sucks. Stop chanting his bitch name. I don't fucking care who you like.
Well,
my dickhead.
I will say when he first showed up, I was like, man, this guy's got him a nice little start here, but he's only done like 4 things. Let me like it, and several months later, he's still doing those same 4 things, and he's just like, it's like he's beating everybody in your company pretty handily. And apparently he beats them like 3 times a night, the way this streak is adding up. But
oh yeah, no, well, that's the thing. It's like they wanted you to get excited about it, and they did. I mean, they did I will give them credit for how much they fucked up. They did Goldberg right, but the way they ended it was just horrendous. And we could that's a podcast, and like that's probably a series of podcasts in general. Of you could go Zapruder film week by week how badly they botched the end of it, and then he faded away into obscurity after that, and then him coming to the WWF in the early 2000s like wasn't anything, and then his comeback, I'm like, where everyone else gets excited, I'm like, okay. I'm like, 25 years ago, I saw everything. I don't need to see it again. And he's, 25 years older. So I think I'm okay.
Yeah. He's just back for a payday now.
Oh yeah. No, definitely.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
Yeah. I mean,
making pretty good money.
Good gig if you can get it, man. I mean, people know you from 25 years ago, and you can wrestle 4 times a year, and I'll take that money.
The problem I always had with WCW is in like that first hour with all the cruiserweights and, just everybody they had on the roster there for a while, from Ray to Chavo and Eddie and all the luchas. And then you had like Malenko and Jericho and all that. That was some of the best wrestling on TV then. And then the second hour of the show is like the worst hour of wrestling you've ever seen.
Well, yeah, it's like WCW from, I would say, probably I'd even say even the full year of 96, 97, and 98, they would have the best undercard. They would blow you away. That's why with wrestling today, if you've been a fan for, I'd say 25 years, I don't know how you can top everything that you have seen that you would have seen now. Maybe a move or two, but there's not much. Those cruiserweights did that. ECW did it. All these other things make it to where it's like fans like, oh, I want the Attitude Era back. I'm like, I don't. I want something different. I want something that's going to be an evolution as opposed to we're going to go back to the same thing. And it was just like, it was always cool. I remember watching, I think it was the Rey Mysterio, I think it was the Psychosis match of Bash the Beach 96. I think I know Barry said he was at the show. I remember that match. It was fucking ridiculous. And then the month before, Malenko versus Rey. And you're seeing this shit and you're like, how the fuck are they doing this and not killing themselves? And it was just flawless.
Well, Psychosis and Rey had a bunch of matches. And they were basically trained at the same time. And Psychosis was basically trained to take all of Rey's moves. Because he doesn't get a lot of offense in a lot of the matches. But he can do a lot. But they always have like that weird dynamic where it always seemed like, well, we can always throw them two out there and they can have a great match for us. Because they know what to do. They know each other that well. So.
No, I think that, and when you have that kind of built-in rivalry where you just gel together, it's the same thing, Flair and Flair Steamboat, Funk Briscoe, however you want to go down. You have people like that just work well together, and it's effortless when it comes to matches like that, but
they started working with each other pretty much. So, Psychosis is great. I love that guillotine leg drop.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny. It started in ECW and then it worked its way to WCW pay-per-view after that. So, I mean, it's how all that kind of just blew up. And then you had luchadors on fucking every hour of Nitro.
Yeah. But it's funny, WCW pay-per-views and WWF pay-per-views. WWF pay-per-views, there would be hokey shit in there, but at the end of the show, it may not have been the result you wanted, but you got a result. And WCW pay-per-views just always seem to leave a bad taste in your mouth. That's how they're ending this.
Yeah, it depend. I think it depended on how you looked at it. I mean, if you were into the NWO and stuff and that struggle, I don't think you cared that much. But if you were for work rate and probably good matches, you'd be satisfied for the first hour and a half, and then after that, it would be a litany.
You have this great show going, and in the last 5 minutes, you do something that just is pointless. It's stupid. It's something you could have done on regular TV. It's kind of how I felt.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's just I look at WWF, especially 95 and 96, where you watch some of those pay-per-views, it is a slog to get through. Watch some of those in your houses that are just fucking brutal. Some of them are.
Well,
but they did.
At least they're 2 hours. At least they're 2 hours, and
and you were
pretty quick.
Either.
It's not like WrestleMania 10. I love WrestleMania 10, but if you take the Owen and Brett match and the ladder match away from that show, you have a pretty mediocre show for your
I think that
biggest show of the year.
Yeah, I think that show just flowed well, where it's I think if a card flows well together, you can kind of forget the garbage in the middle, and you're like, okay, I can get behind this. As much as I love WrestleMania 3, it's a very plain Jane card, minus Ricky Steamboat and Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant. Because you take those two matches out, you're like, This is probably a Spectrum card where they had about 8,000 people here, and they just came because it was the WWF. But I mean, they had their diamonds in the rough, you know, in those, but there were just some like your Doink matches, your Duke Drosy matches. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Seriously, like, just get this over with.
But I always say Royal Rumble. That's the best pay-per-view every year. It always has been, because, you know, for the most part, those Rumble matches are actually pretty good. They're 2012 is a dud, but that's about the only one. I mean, you can put on any of them, and they're at least entertaining. They're fun.
No, the concept just works. I think
it does.
And it's like, even though the early ones you went back and forth, the first two are always fun because it's like you got the Hacksaw Duggan, and then you have Big John Studd, and then Big John Studd pretty much by the middle of that year is gone from the face of the earth. And then you have Hogan, Flair, and then you do Yokozuna, and then you do the...
Flair wins the title in the Rumble in 92.
Yeah.
And then 93 it turns into the you get the title shot at WrestleMania.
Yeah, which, I mean, think about it. If you did not watch WWF television in late 92 into 93 and Yokozuna won the Royal Rumble, I would have laughed in your face and be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, if you just came in cold, like, you would think, oh, I know Randy Savage, I know, you know, Undertaker or somebody like that. No, it's totally out of left field. And then 94 is a little bit more you're what you're expecting. You have Brett and Luger.
Yeah.
Going back and forth, which 94 is
95.
And then
you got 95, you got
95 is
start.
Yes, yep.
But 95 they went to that like minute clock or like a 45-second clock. And it is a blur. They're just like, here comes somebody else. Here comes somebody else. Yeah, here comes it. That is way too quick.
Well, I think they had to. I think some of the matches ran long. I think especially the Brett Diesel match, and probably I think another one, or maybe they had just too much slocky BS in the middle of the matches, and they're like, oh yeah, we're just bringing out everybody, and then because I think. I'm more of a fan of Shawn's second win than probably his first one, because it's just the Rumble match was just sped up so much. It's like, okay, he won. That's great.
Everybody looks back and goes, wow, those guys started it and they ended it. And I was like, yeah, but they were only out there for like 30 minutes. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Rumble now is 45 minutes.
Like, who went like an hour, or Backlund who went an hour the next year. Which, still to this day, I do not understand why they felt the need to break the record for the longest 3 consecutive years, and then after that, it was just like dropped.
Yeah,
it's like the first like 4 or 5 Rumbles, you would hear Monsoon and Heenan or whoever was commentating. I think Schiavone was 1990, because I know Jesse and Gorilla never did a. They did one Royal Rumble. It was 89. I take that back. But they would always state like, okay, he's been in here this amount of time. And then that kind of went away subsequently. Like 94, 95 still did it. But 96 and like 97, they slowly kind of killed it even more. And then after that, it was just like, yeah, we're just going to throw people over. We're going to smash people over like Diesel, you know. If Chris would have been on this goddamn call, you know, he would he'd be spuzzing in his pants right now of me even, you know, mentioning the name of Big Daddy Cool Kevin Nash and him saying Big D at the top of his lungs.
But hey,
made man.
That was pretty good spot for Kevin Nash though.
Oh, absolutely. He was. I mean, 1994. I'd say
pretty over.
Yeah, until then he won the title, and then his 2 matches with Brett are great, but he had to work with Sid, and then Mabel. I think that was his punishment.
And then he had Bulldog too.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Well, Bulldog was fine.
When he's IC champ, him and Scott have some great matches.
Yeah. No, definitely. It was just like he fit well, but I just think they tried to corporate him up too much.
Yeah.
And he just.
He's 6'10". He doesn't need to be out there fucking flying around the ring and bumping his ass off either.
Right. He's a fucking monster. Book him like that. Yeah. He ain't smiling for kids. He's beating the shit out of him.
Yeah. And that's what kind of killed him.
Yeah.
But,
no.
It's strange that he did win that Rumble. Too. Yeah. Oh, look. He gets that bad rap for the worst drawing WWF champion of all time. Well, I'm going to tell you, they could have had Hogan, they could have had Savage, they could have had all those guys. They probably wasn't going to draw money.
Yeah,
nobody was drawing money then.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been much higher than probably what he would have done. But it's just one of those dark periods in wrestling where it's like you just know things are not even remotely close to what they were at peaks. And a lot of times we look back on it and it's like, no, it was big, but the lean years are like they're fucking lean for a reason.
Yeah. And the thing about it too, like, people shit on that time because you got Diesel and everybody's got a job. You got the plumbers, you got the fucking trash men, but except for a few years there during the Attitude Era, Vince McMahon has never given a fuck about anyone over the age of like 14.
Oh, I totally agree. It was just like
even now, my little nephew, he's 10. He watches. He knows everybody. And it's a good time for him to be a wrestling fan. I feel him on that because he's got AEW, he's got WWE, he's got 20 hours of wrestling on TV each week, but he loves it. And all the people that he loves are the people I hate. So, but that's more proof.
Well, that's the thing too.
McMahon doesn't care if I
watch that much. Is just even in my most peak where I was consuming a lot, I didn't feel like I was spending that much time doing it. It flowed really well. Now it really is a slog. But if you've never seen it in the way you and I have seen it, it's a totally different experience for that person. And they're always going to have, it'll be like, because they'd watch what we watch, like, oh yeah, like, what is this? Why is this so great? It's like every generation. It's just like you have your life.
Like the circus. Like the circus, like a married couple isn't going to go on a date to the circus, right? They're going to take their kids to the circus. That's what WWE is.
Oh yeah, no,
Vince knows that. Yeah, it would be great if I could get 2 adults to come in here, but what if I could get them to pay for a kid? That would be even better.
Yeah, more head count, more asses and seats. I mean, to me, I'm trying to think of the last WWF event, the last event I went to. I'll always call it WWF. I refuse to call it WWF.
Yeah,
this is fucking stupid. And I was like, I think it was.
No. You want to know what's stupid? Watch the network with subtitles on.
Oh Jesus, no.
No.
If
somebody says World Wrestling Federation or WWF, you can hear them say it, but the subtitles will say World Wrestling Entertainment.
Yeah,
or WWE, and I was like, it says WWF down there in the corner.
Oh yeah, it's like, come on, like don't ruin it.
Why are you lying to the deaf people out there?
Exactly. It's like, hey, tell them the truth. It's like, no, I'm such a stickler. I haven't had the network, I think, since 2016 probably. I have Peacock for free, but if I watch it, it's rare.
Yeah.
But it's free with Comcast, so they build that in, and then they use that as their numbers. Oh yeah, we have all these new eyes on it. I'm like, you sure about that? And you're not paying for it?
I still get on there and browse pretty often.
Yeah, I'm such a stickler because I have most of the stuff from original broadcast that I've just accrued over the years, but which is great. Like I'm in the middle of going through like Crockett and WWF of '87, like in the fall of '87, just after Garvin won the title and the Mega Powers came together for the first time, which at the time was like just huge.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. But yeah, good thing Chrissy isn't on here talking about Ronnie Garvin. He'd be extra pissed. We talked about Diesel and Ronnie Garvin.
Well, if we would have talked Lex Luger, I mean, I think he would have combusted. I'm pretty sure he would have he would have been walking in the forest somewhere of rural Illinois and be like, I don't know if I can handle this.
Hey, I do have to say, when Lex jumped off that helicopter and went and slammed Yoko, I thought that was the greatest shit in the world. Granted, I was like 9, but I thought that was like the most awesome thing I'd ever fucking seen in my life.
Well, the funny thing is, when you rewatch that now, you watch it, everyone is, and they do everything they can to muffle the Hogan chants. But you can hear it if your ear doesn't, because they were so programmed that Hogan's going to come back. He lost the title a month ago. He's going to come back. He's gonna bitch slap Yokozuna on the 4th of July, and then he comes out and it's just like, and he slams him. It's so looking when you first see it, you're like, holy fucking shit! He just picked up this dude whose ass is bigger than like 3 persons' head.
Yeah,
and he slammed the fucking guy, and everyone just goes ape shit. I mean, you put him in a great spot, and then 6 weeks later you have him win by count out at your second. I would say at that time it was probably their 3rd biggest pay-per-view, because now I think it's it's Mania, it's SummerSlam, and then a Royal Rumble, and then Survivor Series is the redheaded stepchild that just is left to the side of the road to die.
Yeah, I was never really a big fan of the Survivor Series anyway. To me, it was just like, well, we got to put something out there, right? There's the long gap between August and January. We have to do something.
Yeah.
I mean, I always like King of the Ring more than Survivor Series and even SummerSlam for most years, because SummerSlam just always kind of felt like we have to do something here,
Yeah, well, it's, when they knew they could make money off big, you can't have, you couldn't have WrestleMania be like the moneymaker. It just, even though it would make a ton of money. I enjoyed the early Survivor Series, and then I'd say after about 95, you could have probably did away with it. I mean, even though you out of it came some good singles matches, like you had Brett and Austin in '96, and you
had Brett and Shawn in '97.
Yeah, and then fuck. I mean, that masterpiece where he hawks a loogie in Vince McMahon's face, and then throws all the monitors and punches them out, which is. And
then he does the big WCW.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, to me, it's just like. But I mean, the thing of it is with '97. I mean, if you look back on it, there's really not. I mean, if that's the closest thing to one of the most hostile crowds you would probably ever see. That's not an ECW crowd, because you just feel how palpable all the crap that's going on is there. and they're just the Canadian fans, and and they're just fucking nuts. And then I'm surprised they did not riot after Bret Hart got hosed. And I was going to be like, the shit's on. And I think it was just either they were just too shocked or everything else. But I mean, you look at, 1991, Undertaker and Hogan is And then 92, you have Bret and Shawn, which is a cold match after he won the title from Flair. 93, you have all the last two matches, like the King's Army or Jerry Lawler's Knights against the Hart family. And then you have the U.S., the Foreign Fanatics versus the I'm drawing a blank on what the U.S. team was. I think it's not America's team. I'm already thinking of like frickin' Magnum TA and Dusty Rhodes right now, but no, that's not it. But for the most part, that was a decent match. But to me, it's like Luger had lost his luster, and they tried to program him with Ludwig Borga. And
was that Diesel's Teamsters that year?
Maybe, or that might have been 94. But I could be wrong. I'm trying to remember. I have to dig deep for my WWF knowledge. But I think it was 94 that they did the Teamsters, and that also was because that's when Savage replaced Perfect, and then because they had the Crush Savage feud, which I love that feud, even though if you look back on it, it's you may not see it as nice and fluffy as it was, but I always loved it because I remember seeing it live on Monday Night Raw when Crush just beats the ever-loving shit out of Randy Savage, and Savage is just taking an ass kicking like a man.
And their WrestleMania match wasn't that bad.
Yeah, but it was just kind of. I think it was just in a bad point in the card.
Yeah.
And it's sad that it was his last WrestleMania match. I mean, that to me is probably the saddest part, because it's like, think about it. Randy Savage from 91 and 92 quite possibly had match of the show for each Mania. And granted, I love Bret and Piper, but I adore Flair and Savage from WrestleMania 8. It's a really good match.
Hey,
I don't think a lot of people.
WrestleMania 3.
Yeah. I mean, and then WrestleMania 4, even though everyone shits on WrestleMania 4, it's the coronation of Randy Savage. And then the next year, he has a great match with Hogan, like probably one of the best matches they had together. And then he had to have the stinker with Dusty Rhodes the next year with Sapphire with the mixed tag. But he had got the best match out of the Ultimate Warrior I think anyone's ever gotten.
Well, Rude.
I'm trying to think. Rude bumped his ass off. I mean, that dude.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that Sting ended his, hurt his back and pretty much ended his in-ring career, you would have thought the Warrior would have done that first.
Which, Rude and Michaels both kind of had the same injury. And Rude, when he died, everybody was talking like he was getting back in shape, like he was feeling good and felt like he could get back in there and work again. But
yeah, with Rude, it was like he always stayed in shape. He didn't look the only thing that changed is he cut his hair. The stash was pretty much the same, and everything else he looked.
Well, he had the beard. He had the beard there for a while.
Yeah.
And then he somehow lost the beard and had a mustache within like 30 minutes, and he was on a different show.
Oh no, definitely. It's just like he had literally the faucet that just created facial hair, and it was just like, yep, I just shaved it. Oh, it's already there. Great.
Well, I'm talking about that that night he showed up on.
Oh yeah, no, the
Nitro
and Raw taping at the same night, which is
still
the most surreal thing. But at the time it was. Now you kind of look back on it, and it's like that's a nice little piece.
What it was is I would watch Raw and I would tape Nitro, and I would talk on the phone with my buddy who was watching Nitro. So like anything big that would happen on Nitro, he would call me. And he's like, dude, Rick Rude's on Nitro. And I'm like, no, Rick Rude can't be on Nitro. And he's like, oh, he's on there right now. I changed the channel. And I'm like, holy fuck, how's this even possible? And he's like, what are you talking about? I was like, he was just on Raw like 30 minutes ago. What the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, no, it's like, God, that's what I do miss so much. That's the only thing I can look back at, really, because I remember that era where you would flip back and forth. That's what I would do. In between commercial breaks. Definitely would do that. I ended up getting most of the other stuff through tape trading and stuff after the fact, but no, when it happened, it was like each commercial break and then whatever held my attention. And that was probably starting in 97 or late 97, because like I said, I'd given up on the WWF.
I remember
much, spring of 96. And then, I don't think I watched another pay-per-view of theirs until probably the Royal Rumble of next year, where Austin won. And then that kind of, and I still kind of stayed at a distance. Then I saw that stuff later after the fact.
But this is how, like, little I knew about wrestling at that time. Austin gets eliminated, comes back in, eliminates Brett, wins the Rumble. Brett comes out and he calls Vince McMahon into the ring on Raw the next night and starts demanding, he gets his title shot and stuff. And I'm like, why is he talking to the announcer? Shouldn't he be talking to like Gorilla Monsoon or Sergeant Slaughter or somebody like that? Aren't they the ones in charge?
Yeah, no, it's like, it's funny because I was kind of the same way, but I knew at some point, I think my brother smartened me up to the fact that Vince owned the company. That was the only thing I knew. I never read a sheet. I never did any of that. I still have not read an Observer. I have not read the Torch. I have not read anything. I was always a fan that just would watch it. I would critique it. If I didn't like it, I just didn't like it. Or I just suffered it and did it and, would tell myself, well, that's time I'm not getting back or ever again. But, there's just, I could literally, there'd be like, we could give Frankie a 4-parter. Let's just put it that way on all the shit that between like the years of, go from like the mid 80s to probably like 2001, 2002, where it's that to me is like the time frame where I really stopped watching heavily. And then there were times where I got back into it, but.
Well, probably about ready to call it a night.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's for you guys. It's late. It's almost 10 o'clock for me, so it's like it's not the end of the world for me. Even though I am like an old man, I'm usually in bed by this time because my kid usually is out by like my kid for whatever reason tonight decided to wanting to stay up a little bit longer than she normally does, and then she finally just sacked out. She's like this mini monster, and then eventually when she sacks out, she just spreads out and just is like out. You'd think like she's just this little fish that just doesn't move. It's dead. It's there.
Yeah.
It's just flat, lifeless. And then after that, you'll hear the snoring, and I'm like, everything's okay now.
All right, gentlemen. Well, y'all have a good evening.
Yeah, no, and
a good night.
We'll have to. Zaha will pay for this. His insolence will be dealt with, and we'll have to get him. At this point, I'm not going to go Stanley Blackburn. I'm not going to go Gorilla Monsoon, but he will have hell to pay.
Well, I'll just say this: Zaha, We're coming for you, neighbor.
Yeah. Oh, trust me. We'll get him back.
Yeah, no, he will. It will come back. It's the old Dusty. It will never be over.
Yeah. I'm actually going to see him next week, so I will be sure to kick him in the balls for all of us.
Oh, Jesus, yes. I mean, that'd be fantastic. I mean, to me, it was like I was almost going to go Jimmy Valiant on him from like circa 1986. Where
well, let's hear it.
Well, he's the boogeyman tell you how it is, baby. It's going to be big. No, fuck. I fucked that up. I went into Jesse and like Dusty all rolled into one. I could do like any fucking promo he does from with God damn it, I'm totally drawing a blank and I hate myself right now. With Manny Fernandez, or be like after Pez Watley fucking double cross, which still makes me laugh to this day, because it's like I never watched Jimmy Valiant in his heyday. And I just actually got some stuff from Memphis from Roman Gomez, so I'll have to watch that at some point. But how entertaining Jimmy Valiant is! I fucking absolutely be like Willie, money daddy, just literally just going in all different directions. He could say just bullshit for like every other word, and the man was just like white hot over. It's just like It was. It's just fucking great. I will always have a soft spot for the Boogeyman. It's just, even though it is in theory it is not his greatest incarnation, to me he can do no wrong. Be like, Zah, money daddy, you left me laying my blood, baby, my blood. I'm gonna come and get ya, and I'm gonna break you, brother. I'm gonna make you a bald-headed geek, just like that geek, Paul Weasel Jones. You understand me? Stuff like that.
Man, that's good. That was really good.
That's where I needed to be. I needed to get into it and fucking just kill it. And I'm like, there it was. And I'm like, it got there. And I'm like, when it was, I'm trying to think. This was like weeks ago when I heard him go, money dirty, and just, oh fuck, I'm just pissing myself laughing. And then you just want to make out with Tony Schiavone all the time. And I'm surprised Schiavone was just like, what the fuck, dude? Stop trying to make out with me.
Man, I know we're wrapping up.
To top that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
You're probably too long, but great talking to you guys as always.
Yeah, you guys too.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much. And we'll do it again and get some other people on. And that was really awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Good night, y'all.
Y'all be good.
Bye.
All right, Ariel, we're back. And that was Matt Crowder from over in your side, your neck of the woods, the San Jose area. I can't remember the town he's from, but it's just north of you. I can picture it on the map.
Yeah.
And Travis Raines, who is from just south of where I grew up in North Carolina. And that was them talking a bunch. I talked a little. I tried to shut up just so it would be a little more entertaining. And next week we have Matt Crowder and Chris Zaha. And then after that, I have no more content. So I'll get our brother Shipper on the line at some point. And I've come up with a new rule, and I'm just running this by you the first time, and I'll see if you agree.
Oh, okay.
That I'm going to limit the conversations to 1 hour if it's me and another person, or 90 minutes if it's three of us talking. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's fine.
It has taken me so damn long to edit this stuff. That's another part of my altruism is I give up my time with my family and my dogs and my working out, my trying to get in better shape and lose weight and make this comeback to edit these podcasts because I sound like a moron and I want to put out good quality entertainment for the brother shippers.
Absolutely. But, Yeah, you got to take care of yourself. You got to be with your family. I understand. So if you want to do, cut down the minutes a little bit, that's great. I'm all for it.
It'd also be entertaining. And then, we can
Yeah.
have people back. If we don't get to the topics we want to cover, then we can have them back again and again and again. But you know what? There's 2,100 members in the Brothership Facebook group, more than any other podcast on the Arcadian Vanguard network. So we have plenty of people to go through, but I understand not everyone wants to talk. Not everyone wants to be recorded. We may have some people with the Witness Protection Program. I don't know. So we will get back and we'll let the people talk about what they want to talk about.
Yeah, that's great.
Good.
What do you want to talk about? Anything else? No?
Well, I also have another idea for you that I'll run off the air for more content, but I think that is enough for this recording. I would love to get you back on soon so we can put out this great content from, the always entertaining Chris Zaha and Matt Crowder. And I speak even less in this conversation because here's what they did to me, right? So the three of them were going to talk: Travis Raines, Matt Crowder, Chris Zaha. Zaha fell asleep. So guess what happened? The very next night, Chris Zaha and Matt Crowder have their conversation. So I did back-to-back late night, and I was exhausted. And so I'm going to clip it all out, but about 500 times during their conversation, Zaha says, "Man, Frankie, you look miserable." Well, I'm just sitting there letting them talk. I'm just recording just to make sure, I don't know, I can stop the recording, or whatever, if I need to contribute anything. But yeah, I was a zombie. It was, 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. We had the kids, so I'd gotten up at, 6 o'clock. Plus I got the dogs running around. So anyway, yes, I was exhausted. Guess what, Chris Zaha? I'm not exhausted. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh man. Whew. That's something.
Yeah, talk to me at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I've got a little more energy than 11:30 at night.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel bad for you. You're all tired and just there,
Oh,
but
well, you haven't heard it yet. When you hear this next one, you might hear me say, "Oh no, I'm good. Just keep going."
Oh wow. Yeah, that'll take a toll on you.
But I'm thankful that I'm able to record these guys and preserve their conversations for generations to come with the internet.
Yes, absolutely. We have wrestling historians, and then we have you as the archivist of what do you want to call this? Of
the brother shippers.
The brother shippers of our banter and our conversations, and just like you said, preserving it for future generations, for our families and everything like that. And yeah, that's very. You have such a big heart, with everything that you do, with everything you've told me you've done before, like with charity work and everything like that. Now you want to do this, preserving our voices so future generations can hear us, of our families and whatnot, and that's just totally awesome. You do a lot,
and it's thank you, I appreciate that. But it's also more free entertainment for the brother shippers.
Yes, yeah.
It's more content for them, and it's yes, I'm piggybacking off of Jeff and Barry. But also, it's more content for the brother shippers. If they want to hear other brother shippers talk, they definitely have it. And so I'm very thankful to be able to do it. I'm glad that I've got you, because you are the best podcasting partner I could ever imagine. I'm very thankful for you. And we have a good time, for about 35, 40 minutes every week. And sometimes twice a week. Sometimes twice a week.
Yeah, sometimes twice a week. Yeah. And I am not. I thank you for the compliments, but I still don't see it in myself.
Man, you're great, and you know what, the posts you post the podcast the group are always great.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are, man. I was talking to my buddy Jeff the scientist the other day, and he texted me to ask what did I ask? What's the language that you speak?
Yeah,
the
dialect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did he pick up that I'm Filipino just by my voice, my accent? I'm born here.
So he so is his wife,
Okay.
and so is like all of her family.
Mm.
But I guess it's just he picked it up and he's like, oh wow.
He's pretty neat. Really smart guy to do that, to pick up like. Well, he is a scientist,
and he's been that's true, and he's been to the Philippines a couple times.
I see. That's cool.
But and he has no family out there, so he is always around his wife's family.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So he's around the Filipino crowd all the time, so he hears them.
Ugh, poor guy.
So he did not think you sound like Cheech Marin.
Okay, good. Well, I mean, I was kind of proud of that because it's like, oh, Cheech Marin, but I'm like, well, I don't see it. Well, I don't hear it, but yeah.
Yeah. Remember, you were born in East LA, man.
I was born in Born. I don't want to do the voice right now.
Yeah. Shout out to Jamie Ward for saying that. That's awesome. He's a good guy.
Thank you, JB. Yeah, he is extremely good guy.
Can't wait to have him on the line again.
Yeah. I need to learn more about the postal service and his old school wrestling stories were pretty cool too.
Oh man, listen to my mailman the other day. So I was walking Winnie, and we were coming back, and I heard someone go, "Hey, Frankie!" I turned around, and he gave me my package. I mean, I was 2 blocks from my house, and he gave me a package for my house 2 blocks away from my house.
Wow,
that is a heck of a mailman, huh?
That is great, because my mailman sucks. My mom doesn't trust him. There were times when he would deliver us the wrong mail. He would deliver our mail to another address. There was one time where he skipped our house completely, and my mom was like, she was outside, and she was like, how come you skipped our house? And he said, oh, you don't have mail. But she said, but you don't know that if we don't have mail for you to pick up, like bills and everything, because my mom still mails things out.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, I'm sorry. And then since then, she stopped trusting him. So actually, she went to the post office to drop off some like bills, important stuff that she didn't trust our mail carrier to retrieve himself. So we had this one mail carrier. She since passed away. It was sad, but she was really good. She was friends with my mom, or she got, her and my mom became friends. And unfortunately, before she retired, she ended up getting a stroke and passing away. So, yeah, my mom talks about her once in a while, and I can tell she misses her. But yeah, it's life. Life happens. Why am I talking about sad stuff right now and mail carriers?
Did you ever hear the recording of Casey Kasem, where he is recording and they have a long distance dedication about the dog dying, and then he has to go into an upbeat song?
Oh no, I didn't hear that one. But you know what? Now that you mention it, every Sunday here on the 80s radio station, they play a remaster of Casey Kasem's Top 40 from the same week that is going on right now, but from a different year, from like 1985 or whatever. And it's really, he does do the dedications, the long distance dedications, and I love hearing those. Sometimes I look up the person from see if they're still around, if they're together or not, if they got married. But
oh my gosh, man, that is something I would totally do. I look up, like on the murder mystery shows that I watch. I look up the people and see where they are. And,
where they are now, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I do that too. I was gonna do that earlier because I was watching Worst Roommate Ever on Netflix with my girlfriend. Shout out to my girlfriend. And But we were watching like Worst Roommate Ever, and then we were in the middle of this one episode with this one crazy dude, and I wanted to look him up afterwards to see what he's doing nowadays, or if he's rotting in prison somewhere. But yeah.
Well, here we go. I'm going to send this to you.
All right.
And let's see if I can play this. Hang on, here we go.
Now, we're up to our long-distance dedication. And this one is about kids and pets and a situation that we can all understand, whether we have kids or pets or neither. It's from a man in Cincinnati, Ohio. And here's what he writes. Dear Casey, this may seem to be a strange dedication request, but I'm quite sincere, and it'll mean a lot if you play it. Recently, there was a death in our family. He was a little dog named Snuggles, but he was most certainly a part of... Let's go start again. I'm coming out of the record. Play the record, okay? Please. See, when you come out of those up-tempo goddamn numbers, man, it's impossible to make those transitions, and then you got to go into somebody dying. They do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for, but goddamn it, if we can't come out of a slow record, I don't understand it. Is Don on the phone? Okay, I want a goddamn concerted effort to come out of a record that isn't a fucking up-tempo record every time I do a goddamn death dedication. Now, make it, and I also want to know what happened to the pictures I was supposed to see this week. It's the last goddamn time I want somebody to use his fucking brain to not come out of a goddamn record that is that's up tempo, and I got to talk about a fucking dog dying.
There we go. What'd you think?
It's hilarious. That is hilarious. Oh my gosh, I've never heard that one before.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wow. I've never heard that side of Casey Kasem before. It's always that's gonna change forever how I listen to him on Sundays when I listen to his top 40.
Now you see the importance of editing.
Yes. I kind of wish that they just kept it in there, like he was, during the. It would have made his shows a lot more realistic or something. It's more raw that way, but I enjoyed it. It was I didn't know he had such a potty mouth. He was always so wholesome.
Yeah, well, so am I.
Well, that's true, yeah.
Well, cool, man. Thank you so much for recording. Thank you all the brother shippers that are listening. I am saying this sincerely. I appreciate the 50 downloads a week, and I appreciate the patience if I don't get one out a week, because there's weeks I put out two. I'm not like some other podcasts who just go, weeks or months without putting out good content. I shouldn't say good content. I put out decent content. I put out okay content, but I'm very thankful for the people who do listen. I don't do it for me. I do it for the brother shippers. So thank you all. Seriously. I don't make any money. I'll never make money off this. I don't do it for the money. If I did, I would have quit a long time ago. I just do it so that you guys can hear the brother shippers, and so your families can hear the brother shippers, and the brother shippers' families can hear the brother shippers. So thank you all very much. Special thank you to you, Ariel, for putting up with me and my technical issues this week. Thank you for not slapping me. And please don't go on Twitter and bash me either.
No, I won't. I get technical issues also. Don't worry about it. It's fine. We recovered. We've done the show already, or we're recording right now, and it's all good.
Perfect.
But thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone, and we will see you maybe in a couple days, depending on Ariel's schedule. And we'll record another one, and we'll get Chris Aha and Matt Crowder together for a late night conversation where Chris mentions that I'm not saying much and I look miserable. Here we go. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
All right. Bye.
Bye.